Layers of Fear 2 is a spectacular video game, which is more sad and scary. If I had to tell you what kind of emotion I was left with after completing the game, it would be absolute sadness for the main protagonists and not being scared poopless with my newly browned chair. Now that we got the most important part of the review out of the way, let me continue by saying that this isn't a horror game. It's a game which makes you bow down your head in shame and say, "Damn, that's so sad what happened. What a shame." Of course there were some spooks here and there, but even those weren't that scary somehow. While playing I felt more interested in the main storyline and characters than getting scared. I was like a cat focused on my prey, stalking it, getting close to it, and then boom, something spooky happens, but I just shake it off and continue playing. Which is why I feel like the game developers kind of failed at choosing their genre correctly. It's a story and graphically driven survival repetitive jumpscare attempt game with the same few monster chases thrown down into the mix, which also weren't that scary. Don't get me wrong though, the concept, without giving too much away, is quite interesting. The game's story works like a cycle. Depending on your choices, you get different endings. If you make the right choices throughout the game, you can break out of the purgatorial cycle and get the correct ending. But instead of torturing yourself, just complete the game once and watch some poor guys who had to figure it all out video on YouTube. The game has many collectibles, which delayed my review by a few days. You see, instead of just completing Layers of Fear 2 and writing a review, I got this autistic itch which made me collect as much stuff as I could and try to figure out what the hell was going on with the game's storyline, which is thrown around and entangled together. I played through this Spookfest 3 times, and all I got from the main plot was that someone dies, someone gets raped, and someone starves. Who did what is up to you to figure out. I couldn't. As you can tell, I'm a moron when it comes to figuring out stuff by myself. It's easier for me to be fed the plot, which kind of shows that we were all turned into dum-dums by the internet. Or maybe it's only me who's dum-dum, be it with internet or without. Someone just please make a video explaining the plot already. The setting is so interesting. You know, I can't figure out if such scrambled up way of storytelling is genius or just trying to hide a simple story. You can tell someone that your dog got hit by a car yesterday, or split that story into 3 metaphorical surrealistic chapters. First one being you and your poor subject listening to your story, sitting in a white room, in comfy green armchairs surrounded by bloody walls and bowels hanging down from them. The sound of a car horn going off in the distance and getting closer and closer, finishing off with a loud thud, and some scary spooky deformed dog ghost popping out for a second. Second chapter would be made up of memories of your dog, like when you got him, cleaned up his poop, and gave him warmy kisses. Third one would be your dog flying out into the atmosphere in a spaceship and hitting Elon Musk's Tesla in space. Wait, don't steal my idea, stop! Now with that dog story in mind, what would be your takeaway? The most memorable moments most likely. A story of a dog getting hit by a car turns into a bedtime tale of a space-traveling ghost dog getting hit by Elon Musk's space Tesla. You see where the problem lies? How do I review a story of this game? What score would you give a burning, starving vacuum mannequin ship rape? Is good, 7 out of 10. Gameplay is pretty straightforward. It's a walking simulator with spooks in between. That being said, controls feel responsive, not floaty at all. You will find many objects to interact with, puzzles to solve, stuff to collect, monsters to run away from. There's a sprint button, shift by default, which makes your character dash and he, she, it can run forever without getting tired. This main prota could win Olympic marathons without ever having to train. There's a crouch button which helps you get into the nearest corner, look away from the upcoming Slenderman sounding monster, and cry like a little baby. I like certain mechanics in this game, such as constantly shifting environments, reacting to the camera, pathways opening up, judging by your position. The game knows how to mess with the player's mind. Graphically, this game looks quite nice. Environments are small and linear, so even older machines will be able to handle them. Effects and shadows look crisp, enemies spooky and awkwardly moving. That's what makes them so scary. We are afraid of what we do not understand. Just look at Riff Raff. I mean, what the hell is that in his mouth? Now that's the definition of scary. Don't believe me? What if I had some spooky noise? There you go. You can tell that a lot of work went into Layers of Fear 2 graphic design. I mean a lot. You won't get tired of the same ship even after wandering it for 5 hours straight. You will return to the previous explore places in different chapters, but they will always look fresh and with a new facelift. Of course you will encounter more varied environments apart from a ship, but those are for you to find and explore. This game is trying to immerse its players so hard, it avoids menus at all costs. Even after completing the game and being allowed to pick any previous chapter, you will do that by coming up to a table, taking a seat, getting an old film out of its case, putting it on a projector, and turning on the projector. That might sound tedious, but it's not. The world merges together to form a very beautiful, immersive, and confusing experience. Characters in this game are quite interesting. They will keep you guessing who they are, how they got there, grab your attention, and make you want to find out more. Their stories are often told through environments, items, and notes scattered around, which can sometimes be pretty difficult to read. But developers solve this issue by offering players an alternative, easy-to-read font, which can be accessed by pressing the space button while reading. Otherwise, generic horror game gets saved by its tangled-up story and interesting world-building characters. Sound design is also superb. Music doesn't get in the way of the action and complements it. Even after hearing the same melody for a few times, you won't get tired of it. You will miss it when it's gone. Soundtrack pulls your emotional strings very well. Ambient and environmental sounds also fit. They're not reused too many times. You won't get tired of audio in this game. It's masterfully paced, same as the story. If you have some form of sound epilepsy though, loud sounds meant to spook might not sit well with you. Same applies to players with visual epilepsy, since there are a lot of flashing lights in certain areas of the game. But Good Guys game developers put up a warning message when launching the game. Layers of Fear 2 also has some issues. Certain chapters have these repetitive environments, which have to be explored thoroughly in order to find some collectibles. The biggest offender is a chapter which repeats its level picker place over 5 times without changing it once. But even then you can just go straight to the door, which key you have in your inventory, and proceed with the story. That way short repetitive environments don't get annoying. Just don't look for collectibles. Enjoy the game. Monsters in Layers of Fear 2 is mainly only one monster, who always moves the same, acts the same, looks the same, and basically is a pretty boring, uninspired blob man. Mannequins are only used for quick jump scares, without damaging the player. Another issue is that the game might take more than one playthrough to get interesting story-wise. On my first one I felt like being thrown into a Do Puzzle X to get Spook Y simulator. It didn't grip me at all. On the second playthrough though, when I started gluing some stuff together in my head, I got hooked. This game is going to take many hours away from people who like conspiracies, complex stories, timeline messiness, and symbolism. Environments are rich, filled with items waiting to be found. Graphics are nice, sound design is solid. Characters are well developed, controls are responsive and fitting, story is deep, complex, and interesting. I cannot really recommend this game as a good horror title, but it's a fine story-driven game. Overall score 7 out of 10. Boy, this review got way out of hand. Just like a tentacle gripping your leg at night from under your bed. Sweet spookmas tonight, baby boy. Subscribe.